despite the great equalizer of the last map. Talon still got a few voices strong in the crowds.
Equalize indeed, because it felt equal. It felt like the teams were really, in some ways, kind of on par here. When you start to look at the end result, again, 45 seconds remaining.
Yeah.
Final fight for both squads. Kind of anybody's game there. It was that close, but it's the middle section. It's the beginning and the middle that have, in many cases, depending on which map you're looking at here, specifically though King's Row, Element Mystic had the lead.
Speaking of, Element Mystic first up on the defense. Doha's on that Bastion. They're considering it.
Yep. They're now not just considering it. I believe they will be. They should be running
assume
this
it's
one.
committed.
Most defense teams are probably going to attempt a Bastion on this A defense.
Unique as well. Nice touch.
Unique is going to be offering the services of the Mercy here, getting the extra damage boost in there as well as the Resurrection. There's a lot of survivability here because if you do indeed dive into this defensive bunker, Unique likely is not going to get caught out. He really shouldn't be caught out, and then you have the Immortality field as well.
I do believe this, it may just be a scouting Sombra. I'd imagine that
there is a possibility they keep this as well, because the problem is, once you start to see the Bastion defense, you're thinking, Sombra's not bad into this, but there is another problem, and the problem is you can't quite get enough damage in against double shield to build the EMP, so instead, it's going to be pan on a Pudo signature hero, the main.
I am liking this May as well. It's just giving them some more options in terms of rotations as well. Speaking of which, first one, nice and clean. Sparkle not quite finding his mark there.
Yep. Cooldowns used just to get players into position. Speaking of in position, EM now going to be making their own move around. But Talon going towards the point.
And Doha nearly got yoinked by that hold there. He just barely escaped that. But Talon have been so quick with the draw with this rotation. Like you said, now on the point, disrupting Doha. Still got a reasonable firing line, but he himself is also in the line of fire. Absolutely drilling the man down. It's him and Sparkle both taking so much heat. With Talon already on 2
Look at this! Yeah, they got 2 ticks already. EM have to respond to this one. Alpha's tried, but he's gone.
Drops down into Mango Jai's Coalescence, and Element Mystic don't have that same option. Sparkle's low, has to get onto the point with that. Don't know how long he'll last.
Is Doha invisible?
Look, he at least took Agora down with him, but yeah, it's Doha here. The point got capped. This is free kills for Talon. This is free ult charge, free momentum coming into B. They might just snowball here, flat out.
The best one of all, you forgot to say it, but it's free real estate, my friend. Talon Esports now moving on towards B. They just ignored the Bastion on the high ground. Ice walls coming up to completely remove them from play. And now Talon, with the momentum going in, Sparkle switching on to the far over defense.
Okay, they seem to have stabilized. They 5-had a pan. They've got some damage here. Doha actually preserving the tank form as well is kind of nice. This was mostly done with the amplification matrix. Reposition here for Doha is going to help force Talon back. They don't lose more members though, so Talon can just come in for another go around, but Element Mystic stabilized.
And the Blizzard's so important for Padapan here. If he can land it onto Doha and some other members, they will be able to shut him down. There is now going to be 2 big threats on the field. Sparkle's Fire as well as Doha on the Bastion with the tank form. Both are going to be very impactful. If Talon can only deal with one but not the other, they still won't cap.
Yeah, the Fire is going to be a bit of a spicy one here for Talon to deal with. I do like it as an option here for Element Mystic.
Time is running out though. Talon have kind of squandered for a little while now. They do have to make a push happen eventually.
Here they go, right on in. With that Coalescence running, looking to find the angle on something. That's nicely done. That's so huge. Absolutely nothing gained from the rocket barrage except his own death.
Doha?
Oh, this is Immortality field down. Doha's dead. Didn't even get to use that tank form. This is unbelievable.
And you know what happens? Sparkle goes for the rocket barrage, suspended midair, cannot do anything, can't even touch the point. Oh, CQB knocks him away.
421 recognized that time. That's what EM just had on King's Road. Talon, they just keep stepping it up and up and up.
My goodness, this team just blitzed their way through both A and B rather. And you have to look at EM now. Once again, the Nick Cannon face pops up in my mind when I see their faces. What is going on? Doha, no impact on the Bastion. Wasn't allowed to play the game. Locked out of point A. Pushed away on point B. Caught in the Blizzard there. Instantly killed. No tank form. No resurrection. No nothing.
Maybe Element Mystic should be thinking less about walking into Overwatch League together and start focusing on walking on the point, because Talon did that and it worked out pretty damn good. That was a rough one for Element Mystic on the defense, you got to say. But look, again, let's just take a breather here. That was a little bit off kilter for a number of reasons. Look, there's the Bastion in the mix. It's not unprecedented, but it's different, and it felt like Talon just knew it better.
I could see this go so differently for that particular fight on B, where Talon have wasted too much time. They cannot put the Blizz in the right place. Sparkle's untouchable in the sky. It doesn't matter if you kill Doha at this stage. He's even got a tank form and a res from his Mercy. Sparkle's going to spam you down because no one can touch him. Talon then spend the rest of their time not being able to cap B, and this is going to be EM's map. That entire timeline goes out the window now, because where we live in this particular timeline, Talon just one attempt at A and B and got that double cap in 421.
Now look, could still be Element Mystic's map. Time Bank's still a factor, still a possibility. In fact, I would argue a strong possibility. It's still Element Mystic. We still expect good things on the offense. The question really, how disparate will that time bank be? How good can Talon's defense be now? Because that was still a bit of a bogey for them on King's Row.
So let's take a look at compositions here. Talon are not going to be running any Bastion shenanigans, sticking to the standard composition of the 1.40 patch meta, which is going to be Reaper Doofus, Sigma Orisa, and the Moira and the Lucio combination. EM are going to do the same thing. They're going to match them, and what we saw in King's Row is, when we see the mirror matches coming into play, EM had the better attack overall.
I absolutely love that a team like Talon can just mirror match up Element Mystic without it being this weird thing of like, oh, maybe they won't match up 1-1, because Patapan has proved himself more than adequate on that Doomfist, even in the face of Sparkle.
See now on initial rotation, Patapan looking for the angle in.
Ooh, doesn't quite get the quick one. Sparkle himself not quite successful. Maybe out in the cold just a little bit. Coalescence early from MCD is very critical. Talon are absorbing it somewhat though, just backing up, giving a bit of room. Will have their own Coalescence now. And here we come. It's Talon's turn to push back in with Element Mystic still stuck on the stairwell. Sparkle though, that's a big pickup. That's the critical kill to find. Doha though, Alpha as well. Now something Sparkle's gonna have to get a lot more. Cannot! They've managed to do it here despite a bit of success in the mix there from Element Mystic. Talon already off to a better start on the defense.
And there was a lot of dancing around on the stairs of that A-point cap on the high side. And for Talon Esports, again, respecting the space, but they eventually lose someone to Sparkle. Looking at Patapan, can he do the same thing? Wasn't able to. Lose him quite early. Element Mystic then just couldn't secure the rest. Talon Esports bounced back in such a big way. And one fight down already doesn't speak well to EM's ability now to match the time back.
You can look at where some of the differences were made. Look at those ultimates on the tanks there. Talon just have so much ahead of Element Mystic. Look, that'll be a difference maker in this fight as well.
Looking at Sparkle now on the flank, coming through from the other side. Doesn't find anything. That was a great fortifying.
Patapan again, though. That is, again, a very critical pick now. With the Sound Barrett from Unique, they've got legs here. That's a good one from Doha, and with that, Talon have been fighting once again. Took a fair chunk longer, though. Element Mystic just under 2 minutes as they finally get over to the point.
Now, Talon are still, if I'm correct there, they kind of have to get one good defense in here to kind of make sure that they will have the superior time overall, because despite Talon eventually getting this entire map in one attempt, they still had to spend a lot of time on both A and B. Now, Element Mystic are unlikely to match that now. They're only about 430 themselves, but they are going to try and do this in one attempt.
Talon feel like they have all the right tools here. Supercharge down from Alpha. He's taking a lot of heat once again. Talon really know their mark here. Looking to just slam dunk down on top of it, take it out, get it finished off, get those members low. Patapan ducks out to safety with that Coalescence in his back. But no one actually dead yet from Element Mystic, so they can keep the fight going, like you said, with the Gravitic Plugs. Sparkle finds out Gogora, Patapan down as well. And it's looking like Talon is starting to slip this one away now. Coalescence from MCD certainly helping with Element Mystic in this one. Talon now sorely on the back foot. It's going to be all about staggering the time.
And this is where Patapan now goes in the Tracer. Gogora's all stunned out, can't touch the point.
Oh my goodness, he's being cyber-bullied. It doesn't even get there. Patapan gets stunned as well. Hey man, comparable time banks. We said the great equalizer. Finally, the time banks are looking just about equal too. Only 30 seconds separate these teams.
And this is the kind of Element Mystic we're waiting to see, right? This beautiful offense coming through. Questions about their defense. What's going wrong here? What are they doing on both King's Row and also now Horizon Lunar Colony, where Talon just keep on breaking through. It's a slow effort. It's a slow siege, but eventually they break down that wall. However, now for Element Mystic, we go to the time bank. It is still comparable. They're about, 30 seconds behind here. Element Mystic can still make a lot happen.
Because we're in a close time bank as well, rather than a very one-sided one, we do have to ask the question to Talon, can they replicate the success?
Saw there on the replay there, CQB got booped off the edge and did not connect with the teammates that he wanted to.
So as I was saying,
by EM.
Yeah, with regards to Talon now, can they replicate the success, right? They do defend first, so it's a bit of a different story. The offense, I think, will be the real tell. I think we can rely on Element Mystic to, again, have like a reasonably similar offense to what they just did. They're very consistent in that regard, so it's going to come mostly down to Talon.
I think for Element Mystic as well, they're kind of finding their stride here, at least on the attacking side, because that's what we've been focusing on in terms of recognizing their success. Yeah. They've been so much better than Talon on the offense, despite losing one fight at the beginning there, despite having 30 seconds less. Overall, after that first fight loss, which is where you can attribute that 30 seconds to, it was better overall from Element Mystic.
Speaking of better overall, there is a world where Talon can speak out a better defense once again. So still room for improvement on both sides of the point here, I think we can say.
The benchmark is Talon did win one fight in this very location, so they're going to have to win at least one fight to at least match that. And so far, it's good.
Patapan finds himself one. Can he find himself two? Is the question. Looking for it. Decides to not quite take that one, but Element Mystic in full retreat here. Sparkle trying to pay one back. Might just be finding himself out in the colds here. Barely slips away. 12 hit points. Hanbin will go down though. So Talon they force that slight reset out of Element Mystic.
Just really slippery here for both of these fighters. Ducking and weaving. Patapan and Sparkle still survive. 3:05 on the clock now for Element Mystic to be able to get through this first phase of that offense. Not a lot of ultimates to speak of. Coalescence available. Mango Jai still building his a little while away.
Should be close enough though. In fact, actually going to get it before MCD commits his by the looks of things. Unless MCD literally pressed the button now. Nope, that window's passed. So Talon are at least matching in that regard. I think I want to look at that supercharger more than from using.
Oh!
Big one onto Hanbin. Slam dunk. Alpha a long way away from a supercharger. Muse not even needs to use his at this point.
Sparkle's still safe though, still on the flank, looking for entry. Doesn't find anything, but Doa does.
Does find an exit, which is important as well. He doesn't go down. So it's a 5 versus 5 here, and Element Mystic actually have a closer respawn. Talon are going to have to rotate around and drop the supercharge.
And both teams now will be bringing this fight closer towards the point that is also useful for Talon, while waiting for Bashful to come back with that death loss. The defense is still on, the offense is still on, and EM are approaching that point.
There is a world here where Bashful's going to be able to come back in, though. He can actually move into fights quite quickly, obviously, with the Wraith Walk, with the teleports.
It's actually a big play by Talon Esports, by the way. They push all of EM onto the low ground, and they're still there now in the corner.
They managed to rotate them off the point as well. Doha eats some pain. Slips out of that one alive. Patapan, Meteor Strike, doesn't find anything. Uses Supercharger down, though.
Sparkle, low HP, still survives for now. He's about to have that Meteor Strike available. Element Mystic are honestly taking a lot of time to get to this point.
I think it's going to be the Coalescence from MCD again, leading Mango Jai in that sound barrier nicely timed. Let's see what they can get done with that Gravitic Strike. It doesn't quite have his yet. They find Unique with that one. Now Sparkle getting picked off, and Talon. This is the critical fight win. The ones before were just some picks, some trades, but with a huge stall, long rotations, big slowdown, and then a fight win. And we're approaching 1 minute left for Element Mystic.
Let me add the cherry on top here for you, because they also get the exit frags on players like Hanbin, so there's extra time that Element Mystic now lose. So you have a case where, okay, look at what happened in regulation time. Talon got 1 defense win there. They got 2 here. On top of that, they also add in a lot of extra wasted time for Element Mystic, who now have less than 1 minute remaining. They might not even cap because they don't even have 1 tick.
You lose this next fight, man. Look, Element Mystic have a lot of ultimates coming into this early supercharger. Sparkle trying to make hay while that sun shines. Another Gravitic Clutch from Hanbin. These have been pretty solid so far, and it's once again solid with the outside angle from Doha as well. They get the damage in the mix such that when everyone drops down, they don't have any remaining survivability. So Element Mystic finally getting that successful fight. Still a bit of time on the clock for them as well. Credit to Talon for wearing that one down so much, but Element Mystic still very much in this.
Speaking of wearing, Hanbin's going to get out his big bad shoulders, put the team on there. Wear it, if you will, get that double, put the 2 members of important members. Patapan goes down to the Flux specifically, and Talon don't have the capability then to use that plan to get those counter trades. Talon now finally onto B, but they have 30 seconds to hold. That's a lot of time for them to be able to maintain.
Patapan's just waiting for his opportunity. CQB's down early to the Coalescence, and now Talon, they're going to start throwing everything in the kitchen sink into this one. Sparkle does go down, but Talon does a lot more. No Gravitic Clutch from Gagora. Patapan not quite getting as much done either as he would like. It's really just him and Bashful with CQB at their back, struggling to keep them topped. Patapan will at least take one down with him. Trades do help here. They have that respawn advantage.
This is still dangerous though. Less than 10 seconds available. Bashful's got to get something.
That's such a huge shutdown. Not getting anything with him as he goes down. The Coalescence as well from Mango Jai. Not getting too much. They find Alpha. And get Trades good. Oh, Gagora! Just what we have been talking about. How Hanbin's outclassing Gagora has finally turned up to play some Overwatch. If they can stop this cap, and I think they could, they've certainly got the numbers. Talon could be really in the money here.
Talon have the players here, they have the respawners here. Hanbin goes down, no Flux available. Earman, so much trouble.
That's so critical just when Gagora puts on the carry pants. Hanbin had to take them off. Unfortunately, they do get that sound barrier from Unique, but he's the only one they're benefiting from it. Overtime will tick down. Talon, hashtag winnable. All they need to do is get a little bit over 2/3 on point B. They have 4:21 to do it.
That is so rough for both teams in very many cases, because you have to look at EM first of all. They push in, got about 35-ish seconds remaining. That's absolutely still doable for them. Extremely difficult given that. Pushing in, had the opening advantage, getting 2 ticks before anything else happened. You're starting to think here, okay, I'm looking at this as a potential cap, which would have been absolutely amazing for Element Mystic, but then you got to go with the flip side. Talon Esports, 35 seconds, that's your defense there. That's going to be your hold. You should be able to maintain it.
Yeah. Look, we were talking about Talon's defenses as well. Compare what we just saw to what happened on King's Row the first time around. I mean, this has been a huge step up over the course of those 2 maps for Talon.
I see a triple kill from Kagura as well. Started out with basically a solo Gravitic Flux onto Alpha, a difficult player and a difficult member in terms of role to get there, because you have the Fortify on Orisa, so not always can you actually manage to land the Flux fully. Then gets an accretion kill, follows it up with another regular kill using Hyperspheres. There's only 3 down. Doesn't matter if Kagura goes down afterwards. You lean into the respawn advantage and Talon Esports are safe.
All right. What's the go here, Element Mystic? They don't want to do that Bastion thing again. It didn't work last time. Talon, they got plenty of time. They'll scout this one out. I'm expecting we're just going to have another mirror here.
Pretty likely. Element Mystic didn't feel confident about how that Bastion defense went, and so they shouldn't. They're just going to play safe. They know when we play the mirror, they're very capable.
Talon are also capable though, but what we haven't seen, I suppose, is what the mirror looks like when Element Mystic are defending. So this will be our first view of that. Maybe that'll be a difference maker for them.
And I will say right now, expectation for Talon, they are ahead. They have a lot of cases where they can just win this one. Got to get past Sparkle early.
Woo-hoo! No, Patapan's got him. Hudson Killer finds that one, and Patapan keeps himself alive where Sparkle could not, though. Hunt does straight it back, so it's not all smooth sailing for Talon. But Patapan, the longer he stays alive, the more he is going to pay off for your team. And with Unique down as well, now Alpha joining him, it's looking like Talon are going to storm this point fast once again.
And excuse me, but I misspoke earlier. Talon do not want to get past Sparkle. They want to go through Sparkle. That's exactly what happened there. Talon now, expectation once more. They're about to get A capped out through. They have a lot of time getting into B, and they do not have to get fully through B.
Sparkle's come back into this. He fancies another bout, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's an exit frag. They lose Patapan. Element Mystic going to do this? They've got the Coalescence. They want to give it a go. At least Kagura's low.
Kagura's got to live, and Talon want to be able to cap this one. If they lose more members, EM can defend, and it is getting tough now. Talon are off the point.
They want to commit back in themselves, though, with that sound barrier, and Bashful finds his counterpart. Look, if nothing else, Element Mystic will wear more time off the clock and get some ultimates out from Talon, which is honestly more than enough. Big find on Kagura. He'll trade himself, and Patapan's back in the mix as well. Bashful staying alive for such a long time, drawing MCD's attention. But Patapan's still going to pay off. That's the real difference maker.
That's an expensive sound barrier from Unique. They really want to bleed down the timing here. Supercharger in response from Muse.
Alpha's down. That's the big one. Now with MCD getting picked off, they've made it work. Again, look, Element Mystic, this has been something of a success in as much. And does no one else want to do this? No. I don't think he does. But as I was saying, it's been a success. They ran more time off the clock. They got more ultimates out of Talon. But with all that being said, Talon still have so many.
I think EM still spend a lot of ultimates there as well, especially when you see Unique dropping the sound barrier after Sparkle and Hanbin goes down. Those are your 2 big playmakers, and they're gone. EM have a very low chance of winning afterwards, unless Noah can really pull something through.
This could just be a one and done. Gravitic Flux almost solo there on the Doha. He's down and out for the count. Sparkle low, stays alive. Hanbin's got to really make this one count. They'll find Patapan. That's a critical pick off the table now. He did it that Meteor Strike as well that he couldn't use. 2 now for 2, actually 2 for 3 with Sparkle. Talon are going to stick in this, but the longer it goes on for, the harder it gets. Element Mystic will start respawning. Doha's already done so. That's a nice Death Blossom. That's 2. That'll be Talon rebuff.
Okay, Doha coming back using the Death Blossom here. That's an extra ultimate that Talon will get off the table. Gonna be okay with that one. Attempted to make that first tick come through, and every tick is so deadly. You can imagine here, if Talon get that 33, they walk in, they've got less and less and less they have to work with in terms of how much they need to be able to cap this on. EM know the cap pressure is there. They cannot be stepping off this point at all.
And even with that, it could just be a one and done, and Talon get that big critical fight with all the kills and 3 ticks, and they're in the money. Kagura already down though, it's probably not going to be the fight, but they kind of already committed purely because they wanted to throw in that Meteor Strike. Now they're in for a penny, in for a pound. Patapan on that 1v1, just going to go around a few bouts, dance like a butterfly. Sparkle's down. Talon are going to keep it happening. Hardman's down as well, despite losing the first member in Gagora, who's actually already on his way back on a wrecking ball. They're already getting that third. Here we go. Pressure on Element Mystic.
Sparkle's going to come in here, but he's already tagged up. Alpha nearly has a supercharger, and Talon are still on this point. EM need an opening.
Big one! That's going to be it! No supercharger for you, sir! Not today! Talon once again! And it just comes out of nowhere. It feels like they drag you to the precipice, hold you there for a minute, they taunt you, they tease you, and then they kick you clean over. Talon are on match point.
2-1. This is such an incredible lead for Talon. Did you ever believe that they could actually be here? Element Mystic, such a monstrous team. Again, just look so confused about what is happening in this particular match. How is it possible that this pack team, this huge underdog in this tournament, not even just this particular matchup, can do this much damage in this amount of time?
Man, I don't know if there's a Twitch emote for this, but I think we're at the point it's got to be like, I don't know, spam this fish stick to help Element Mystic or something, because they're the ones with their backs against the wall now. Like, this isn't just Talon pick up the first map. Yeah, this isn't just Talon pick up the first map and get themselves, you know, get a bit of an early advantage, do Element Mystic answer, yada yada. This is now officially Talon could just knock them clean down into the losers bracket.
And even in the final moments there as well, you can start to see the tables turning ever so slightly in Talon's favor. You talked about the supercharger being taken off the table. Unique dies at 99% towards the sound barrier. That could have been a fight turner right there. A lot of things could have been fight turners. Insane.
Absolutely insane is what that fight was, what this series is as well. And hey, there might not be much more of it after this. Talon on match point, 2-1. Can Element Mystic bring it back from the brink? Find out after this excruciating break. Well, welcome back from that break, and I mean, what else is there to say about this series, right? I want to just remind everyone, 2-1 up currently for Talon, the underdog of this. It's second Korean team, the highest Korean team outside of Runaway, who are in the finals bracket already. The only representative from the Pacific region. I mean, this is insane, and need I remind you, this could have been a 3-0. We were near to that world. Kings Row came down to one fight, and now, thank goodness, we get to have more of this incredible series.
You got Gagora on your screen right now. He's one of the players that is really making the difference for Talon Esports so far, rescuing this B defense for them, allowing them to complete the hold, because you can imagine if this goes to another time bank, who knows what could happen.
Yeah.
EM can take it from there. There's suddenly no big time bank advantage that Talon have accrued for themselves in that second time bank forward.
But we saw so much of that as well, those minute things. We saw ultimates coming so close, the supercharge, the sound barrier in that final fight, but Talon in that time bank. I feel like it's just going to be more of the same as we come on forward onto Dorado. Once again, Element Mystic find themselves in the position where they have to pick the map, having lost the previous one. Dorado's where they want to take it.
And now you do have to ask the question, because we are at match point, as we've said already. 2-1 means, look, Talon only need one more. Can they actually do this? Because it is on the cards. This is the closest they've had to upsetting a big team like this. They've been LGE before in the showdown in Pacific. Now can they do it versus Element Mystic?
That's the thing, you know, they're almost becoming chronic upsetters.
So we head now into Dorado, map number 4. The team that could. They said it themselves. They may not be the best team, but they can be the hardest working team. They're going to work hard enough now. We'll see how much work they've got left to do to beat Element Mystic, who know they're on their last legs here, who know they're in a really tough position. So I am expecting Element Mystic to be pulling out all the stops.
So I got a question. Talon have been, like, living and scrimming and working out of Korea for, like, the last 6-ish months.
A year, actually.
Yeah. So if you come into the Gauntlet, the first thing you do is beat a Korean team. Do you become like an honorary Korean team?
Well, the thing is, outside of actually participating in Pacific Contenders matches, they basically are, for all intents and purposes, like a 4th Korean seed in this tournament, because they operate out of Korea, they scrim versus Korea, they do everything that is Korea for Overwatch. They just happen to play in the Pacific.
And a few of their members aren't Korean, but technicalities. Element Mystic looking to roll out once again on the Farah. Now, interestingly enough, because that has to be Sparkle, they still want to Doomfist as Doha.
This is going to be that kind of interesting thing we saw in the Grand Finals for Contenders Season 2 Korea as well, where Doha did bring out his Doomfist, and you are expecting, okay, they got to go into the normal roles now. Yep. They see that Patapan is on the McCree. Why he's on the McCree is because on the defense team, you do need to respect that they can be a foe.
Exactly, and that respect ends up paying off for Talon. It was the right kind of call, right pick. You already see what that's done in terms of his ultimate charge as well. He hasn't got any kills, but he has been hitting the shots.
So this is now difficult, because Patapan needs to do so much work on McCree where he was doing on the Doomfist previously. Can he have the same impact?
You got to believe. Ooh, nope. All right,
easy no so far.
At least I didn't finish the sentence, right? It didn't count. I take it back. Now Talon are going to have to try and take this one 5v6, but with that hose battle there, it's a water gun fight. And Element Mystic have the more high-pressured hose.
And it's a defense here on Dorado for the teams where you're between a rock and a hard place. Damned if you do, damned if you don't, because if you want to be playing your Doomfist that Patapan is swapping to now, the team attacking can swap to a Fire to kind of soft counter you. So you have to respect it, start on a hit scan, but if you do that, then the Fire team just goes back to their own Reaper Doomfist. It's a very difficult place for Talon to be.
So that first point does end up going over. Element Mystic, after making that swap, find exactly what they need. Now, they're forced to swap out of Patapan. If they can maybe preserve some of their own momentum, Element Mystic will find themselves rolling into ultimates ahead of Talon here.
Nothing forced about it, my friend. Patapan absolutely wants to be playing the Doomfist as much as possible, and Harman wants to flux as much as possible.
And he's so good at it too. Finds Gagora with that, who is close enough to his own. And now the rest of the DPSs can start dogpiling on to the already weakened Talon. This is exactly what Element Mystic were after.
And this is the same kind of momentum that we saw from Element Mystic on their attacking phases, basically across all the maps that we've seen so far. This has been their strength so far in the series. Talon have had weaker defenses. Element Mystic actually have some questionable defenses as well, but Talon now needs to slow this down considerably.
This is the thing we kept saying, they needed to step up. They did it on Horizon 3 Colony, but look, Escort, you know, it's a whole different ball game. Well, specifically it's a different game mode. That's an unfortunate drop down right into the guns of Doha. Coalescence does help rescue them somewhat, but there we go, the push inward. Doha helps find and Muse out as well as the Supercharger. Sparkle now to follow it up, gets 3 in a row. The man's only got 2 fists. How do you do that?
Element Mystic know they have more chips to play with, so they're happy to go all in here. They see that Gagora wants the Flux. They see that Muse wants a Supercharger. Doha's like, okay, I'm walking up. Here comes the Death Blossom. I'm taking that Supercharger down as well as a member. And on top of that, the Sound Barrier to keep them safe. We're already onto point C. 5:06 remaining. That is a monstrous time.
It's just momentum. It is momentum unbound. Talon, much like on King's Row, is struggling to slow Element Mystic down. They have to start doing it here, or they're going to find themselves backs up against the wall very quick, Smart.
Patapan now, Meter Strike going in.
Bashful
Bashful already down is a big problem.
Trades it back at least, trades it back double. Doha's still in the mix as well, but without Bashful, Patapan's got to do it all himself. But my God, he can! 4 in a row! Will he just get the last 2 himself as well? Come on, full 6k. Gagora's going to get one of those, but dude, gets 5 kills, utterly rescues that defense.
This is it. This is Talon showing what they're capable of. Patapan, look, you have to go back once more to the opening statements from Element Mystic. What was Patapan's biggest achievement? Great national team for an Overwatch World Cup. Well, their achievement, the next biggest achievement is about to beat, it's probably to beat you if that's about to be the case.
Yeah.
Talon Esports, they are still on the C defense here. There is still 4 minutes left to play with. It is possible.
It's a lot of time. Talon have a lot to make up for. Certainly still believe it would happen.
Oh, here we go.
There we go. Off to that hot start. I mean, so often we see like a Coalescence battle, and then one team gets a frag partway through it, and that ends up being the one that gets it. Look, couldn't even get himself to the health pack.
Was I talking about boxing? Because I think this is closer to wrestling now. Patapan just takes Sparkle, lifts him up across the shoulders, dumps him outside the ring.
Now Gagora looking to clothesline the remaining members of Element Mystic here. Not the hardest, rather, sorry, Hanbin. 1 for 1 now on the Oruses, and these teams are just trading endlessly. Nothing much there for Bashful.
See what Doha can do with this Death Blossom now. We did see Unique use that Sound Barrier. They do have a 2-member, soon to be 3 in advantage, and finally EM are pushing through C.
It feels like there was a window where Gravitic Flux could have been super powerful when Element Mystic kind of rallied, started getting back on the front foot and pushed in. A lot of spots there. We had loved to place that Gravitic Flux down, and Gagora not pressing the go button very much on these ults.
But they will be able to soon, because there's 4 online now for Talon Esports heading towards that final corner. There's that Flux we're talking about.
Essentially on the Supercharger plus Alpha, but they don't even kill off Alpha. Now Doha down 1 for 1, but much bigger kills coming through in favor of Element Mystic, and without Patapan, Talon find themselves up a tree without a ladder. They did wear down that clock quite a chunk, but I've got to say, coming up on 2:45 for this is a more than respectable time bank. Talon might be able to lay that a little bit longer, but nope, Hanbin's got a lid on that one.
Insult to injury there. They push the card along to the finish line, dragging the body of Gagora along the front left wheel. And unfortunately, Talon Esports not going to be able to defend here at all. This is, in some ways, you look at Element Mystic, good attack, really strong offense. It is expected. We do expect them to be able to push through completely, take us to a potential time bank. Question is, does Talon take us there as well? Because so far, 2:44 on Dorado is extremely respectable.
Yeah, would it be a comparable time bank? You know, There's a lot of questions about this, you know, despite what happened on Horizon Lunar Colony with honestly some solid defense out of Talon. The payload just seems to be a different beast. They just aren't as proficient as where they are elsewhere. It's probably been the most consistent difference between these two teams.
And I think it's the A point itself again. We start with the McCree for Patapan, and we answered why he does that. You have to respect the Farah coming through. I wonder if a similar thing is going to happen here. It is, but Sparkle's actually going to play the Farah himself. Smart, because he doesn't want to be stuck onto a McCree. If Patapan wants to respond, or in some cases Bashful, I expected to actually be the Farah player for this team, then Sparkle will say, okay, well, it's 1v1 in the air, let's 2v2 in the air, let's make it about.
At any rate, curious to see how Talon chooses to approach this. They may be even considering not having the Mercy in the pocket. That could actually be a big difference maker between Patapan and Sparkle.
I will say something here, though. It is, I believe, the preferential composition to have Farah plus Doomfist versus Farah plus Reaper. So, realistically, if they want to play Farah, Bashful's the normal Farah player, Patapan should be on the Doomfist. But actually, because they've now scouted these defensive Farah, Patapan's like, here's my other signature hero, it's the Widowmaker.
Look for that entry.
Here's my other signature hero, it's the McCree. I'll keep going.
After the match, here's my signature.
Player.
Go get this guy's signature. It's going to be worth something someday, I dare say. At any rate, I am liking them back on the Doomfist here, but Sparkle will get a lot of pressure
The last time we saw Sparkle kind of overstep is when he went for a risky rocket barrage and just kind of get caught out. This time around, we'll see how quickly he charges this one because he's nearly there already.
Whoa! That's absolutely enormous. Just flies a little bit too low to the ground. It's like an inverse Icarus. And now Talon pushing their way in, one-man advantage here. And with Patapan on the side, it feels like you have the strength of 10 men sometimes.
Like a fly landing on a carnivorous plant. The Hulk came through and Gagora ate him up, gobbled up Sparkle now, looking for the respawn. Element Mystic still on the field.
Mango Giant leading MCD for that Coalescence charge. Not something we've seen a whole lot of. They've either been even or MCD leading. Sparkle back in though too with the Rocket Barrage. More than enough, helps pay it back. Talon had got some other good kills prior to that, but with Sparkle back in the mix and Unique in the pocket, they're going to be able to push this one back. Talon not quite staying true through the whole of that fight.
Now, part of the problem now is that Element Mystic have secured at least one fight win on the A defense, something that Talon could not do. And if Talon once more want to be able to get a bit of a time bank, to be competitive in that time bank, they got to get more than this. They got to be able to roll through both A and B, and then perhaps expect a little bit of slowdown on C before they finally cap.
Talon's approach had to be slower as well. Arguably, Element Mystic made the swap, so maybe that part works out even, but they have to make so many rotations to avoid what the Pharah is capable of. And if they don't, well, look what happens. You lose too many members on the approach. That's not even on the card. You lose the fight before it begins.
And this is where Sparkle can do a lot if he is able to stay alive. Why Talon were able to even get as far as they did on that A push initially is because they got Sparkle down. Unreasonable, mind you. Element Mystic now keeping him in the air, not getting caught up by Holt again. You see Talon just getting shredded as they're trying to make that approach, as they're trying to make the rotation happen. Sparkle's doing so much damage. He's already nearly on another rocket barrage, and he won the last fight with his original.
And even that, after all that, Talon don't have a lot to work with here. They're coming up on a few more ultimates, but it's like, I mean, Element Mystic just gotta have them all as well. It's about as close to even as you get. That's a nice acrobatic sludge. Alpha, though, is down early. Again, not a lot out of the rocket barrage. Will find Muse, but Sparkle is down, and Talon off to a good start here. Unique needs to find a res quick smart. Not many good members left to res now.
Let me remind you, Element Mystic came in with 5 ultimates, pretty much 6 because they have now the Coalescence as well. Still end up getting taken down. Now Patapan to clean them onto Hanbin. Talon have far less to work with, and yet now we're approaching the A cap eventually. It's about a 1 minute timer left. Element Mystic look like they're going to give this one up for now.
Interestingly enough, both teams ended up coming up on a lot of the same ultimates as that fight was kicking off. Talon committed a lot more. Element Mystic still have 3. It's a good advantage for them here. But you do wonder what would have happened if they'd used them in that last fight.
Do wonder if they had managed to get a couple more off in terms of, you know, getting that value there as well, because there is also the case where they feel like they're losing. They don't want to just spend. Speaking of spend, they're going to be picking up Patapan and
Yikes. Yeah, that's payday for Element Mystic. Gonna pounce on that opportunity. They take out Patapan and they know that the door is kind of open. Look, we don't mean to imply that like Talon is the Patapan show, like it's this one-man army, but it's like if you kill Sparkle, you go in off that.
Well, Sparkle is pretty low right now. Actually taken down by Patapan, who's had enough of the shenanigans, honestly.
Better myself.
Well, the thing is, we finally do get to see the Widow, but here's where Sparkle can just, I mean, I would say he'll swap, but he gets rezzed.
Patapan taking some heat. It's going to be Noah's job to keep a lid on him. Does so very effectively. MCD going to help him out as well with the hose at the back. And Talon just completely stopped up short.
Keep a lid on him in the literal sense there. Just dropping straight on top of his head. Patapan now going on to the McCree. This is now the first time in the series, I dare say, that Talon Esports look a little bit lost. They look kind of truly lost here, where how do we deal with both the Doofus and a Pro at the same time? Patapan's gone through about 3 different heroes, and nothing's been working.
Now look, in all fairness, I do like the McCree more than the Widowmaker, purely because you've at least got a flashbang for Doha as well as the hit scan, but it's still a bit awkward, like you say, he's on the back foot. That being said, on the front foot now, Bashful is going to keep the team in the mix, getting the tank down early, getting Doha down early, and the rest is all she wrote.
And I think Talon just wanted to take a bit more aggressive approach there, walk in, Bashful at the front, pumping the damage out. You are concerned potentially about Sparkle dropping down and doing a barrage, but you also do see Patapan kind of just looking around. Where's Safara? I'm going to land the flashbang, going to do something to save my team, and Element Mystic here are not able to get the barrage in here. They will lose that first fight on B.
Talon have still got a lot to make up for, though. Gonna have to win another fight on B, I dare say. And they may just not even accomplish that. Sound barrier, nicely timed from CQB. That's a little bit of an unfortunate one, though. Losing Muse and the supercharger. They will
Sparkle down, though, he's big.
Unique can res it, and he does so. trades back and forth, but very much favoring Element Mystic, and there you have it. They needed to win more fights on B. Element Mystic are the ones who lose, so Talon still struggling to make up for lost time.
There's been enough slowdown now that Talon are not going to be able to make up for lost time anymore in the rest of this map, because if we get to see at all, Talon Esports are going to be behind significantly on that time back timer if we get to the time back, because we're also in a situation where EM's defense has been so much better compared to the rest of their series defenses, they may actually just hold on B.
Certainly feels like a possibility. And Element Mystic need to. Like, let's also not forget about that. We keep talking about the time back. If Element Mystic, look, they want to win this. And if they do, they at least tie up the series. They are still behind in the series. This is critical stuff for them.
We call this from MCD now, but a lot of low members. Padpack can't quite find the angle because there's a lot of shields in the way.
And the thing is, there was someone to super low. You almost feel like the left click would have done it better off than the Q, but at any rate, he will find Doha. Is traded. Patapan still got a lot of work left to do, but with the coalescence running from Mango Jai, they've given themselves an opportunity to unlock Patapan.
And Talon are finally on the board. They're walking through this map now. They're taking control. That's the front line gone, and Unique is about to lose the Valkyrie.
Patapan's getting all kinds of firing lines out here. Ghidorah just having a face smash against Hanbin. Hanbin gets the better of it. Hold up, they're not done yet. Patapan, he got one, but he's been low for a long time prior to that. Ended up separating from his team. Hanbin will finally get finished off, at least by Bashful, but Element Mystic, with just a thread and a sliver, hold on through that fight and end up closing out that map. They will draw up the series. They're not done so just yet, but I tell you, they do still have their own work cut out for them.
And that sounds like a strange thing to say. The fact that they had to catch up in the series, the fact that they had to be the ones to equalize on the scoreline, not once, but twice so far, taking this to a map 5, and they're the ones taking it to a map 5. That shouldn't be the case. We walked into this one saying that Element Mystic were the strong favorites. They still are. They still may win this one 3-2, but my goodness, has it been a journey for them.
And I am terrified of what that map 5 might mean for Element Mystic. Look, we didn't talk about it before, but it has been a factor. Yeah, they got to win this one, but even if they did that, they have to go to control. They lost that one to Talon. Talon just need to replicate that success from the top of the day. If they can do that, they still go through. That's the thing with getting to that match point at the end of the third map. You have so many opportunities to win, especially if you were the team that won the first control map.
This is going to be heartbreaking though if Talon do end up losing, because they had been at match point. They'd taken the lead multiple times. It's going to be bloody. It's going to be a total bloodbath to see who comes out on top of this.
Gonna have to see if they can accomplish it. Stranger things have certainly happened, but 2-2, all tied up. That means we go the full 5 on our first series of the day. We'll see how it resolves right after this break. Welcome back, and once again you saw it in that opening, and I think it's finally time to talk about it. You saw that moment from the Pacific Showdown where Talon sent LGE Huya out of the tournament, lost China a seed, earned Pacific a seed, and they're on the cusp of being a repeat chronic upsetter.
And in addition, you saw in that clip as well, Element Mystic hoisting up the cup, hoisting up the trophy as champions of both their season of Contenders in Season 1 and also of Pacific Showdown itself. And now on match point, both sides, map 5 of this epic series. You can see how the teams have traded map after map after map. And I ask once again, do you believe that an underdog can take down a juggernaut?
And I absolutely do, for the reason I talked about just ahead of the break. They won the first map. That was what made this so exciting as a series from the get-go, before we even knew we were going to go the full distance and genuinely have Talon at match point for a couple of maps in a row. Look, maybe they still lose it. Maybe it's the heartbreaker, but you got to believe it, right? They won the first control. They can do it again.
And this is where I also look to the opposite side of Element Mystic, where they are just that good of a team also. They're expected to be one of the deepest, the team that makes one of the deepest runs in this tournament, next to the other Korean squads, next to Atlanta Academy. And sometimes when you are just this good, destiny still arrives, even if a team like Talon Esports can take us to match point.
Dread it, run from it.
But
Sparkle still comes.
Yeah. Dread the Doom Fist. The, I don't know, Doom Gauntlet, I guess? It doesn't work that way. I feel like every time it comes around, Talon gets a little bit louder.
Well, that's the thing, because we're that much closer still to Talon Esports potentially making that dream upset happen. Can it even be possible that Element Mystic lose the first match of Gauntlet, to be losing to, I remind you, the 10th seed overall
tournament.
In the entire tournament? Element Mystic, they're the 3rd seed overall in this tournament. That's still a big difference. Outside of Runaway and Atlanta Academy, who are directly seeded into the top 8 bracket, Element Mystic is the highest seeded team in both Group A and B.
And look, if that's how we set the pace of this tournament, that the lowest seed can beat the highest seed, it speaks volumes of what might come up over the next few days of play as well. But man, could you believe we haven't even finished this first series? We're only just getting there, rounding out the gates now on Lijiang Tower. Can Talon replicate their earlier success?
We absolutely have not finished. The most important map is just starting now, and so is Padapan. Sparkle looking for entry once more.
That's some stuns and things getting eaten left, right, and center, but it's Muse the first casualty, and with that, you could easily see Talon just getting flattened here, indeed having to back out with Padapan down. That's certainly going to be the pace of things. Element Mystic going to get early control of the point here on Lijiang Tower.
EM got to remind you so far who the favorites are in this particular matchup and also in the tournament. A comfortable first fight win for them, capping that point through. Talon Esports hurting, but will be returning fairly shortly. Mango Jai only slightly behind in Coalescence compared to MCD.
I mean, slightly. It's the slight that it's not going to matter when push comes to shove in this fight now. Both getting committed. Padapan taking early chunks here. Scored down early is already bad news bears for Talon. Now is Element Mystic looking good. Sparkle low, but able to slip out of that one alive after fighting Bashful as well. Sparkle feels like he's finally in his element in a way that he hasn't been until now.
The element is Mystic indeed for Element Mystic, who are now 2 fight wins in a row in this particular opening. And you see, once more, you see Padapan go in, get pressured out. There's a lot more focus now on this player to make sure he doesn't get his job done. Sparkle, on the other hand, gets low, suddenly turns around, collects himself a kill. EM are still ahead. EM still make that fight happen.
In the first control map as well, these teams traded back and forth. Talon needs to make that trade back here. That still hasn't happened. Element Mystic happy to just blow through their cooldowns, get a very clean and easy fight win. I mean, Talon just had nothing there.
It starts to feel like Element Mystic Phase 5 of this particular raid boss, the hardest one. You've reached the point now where they're definitely angry, where they definitely are not giving you a lot of time to play with. This has been the most one-sided affair, I think, so far that we've seen in the series. At least when Talon were losing maps like Dorado, they're still able to take a couple of fights.
And they're just getting outplayed, surrounded in all facets here. Padapan finally getting one. Gonna go straight back down. Talon, I mean, hope and a prayer, right? But Element Mystic are just outclassing them.
And the other part of this is you need to look at where the counter frags are and that there is none. Because the problem is Talon have to go into these fights, get nothing out of it, walk away. This will be a 100-0. I can almost feel it in my bones now, and that is upsetting for Talon going into map 5.
And it feels like Talon just keeps walking right into the jaws of Element Mystic, but finally Patapan punches one through. Bashful as well. Not quite going to be the 100-0 at this rate. In fact, that is a heck of a comeback fight. All 6 to no answers. And it's not like Element Mystic did nothing there. They did use a Gravitic Flux. They did commit.
Really good there. Talon Esports finally able to get that fight win, but they still got many more fights to go. They actually want to be able to take this first round. As a reminder, Busan went pretty much all their way. It was tough, but they got that 2-0 here. Talon Esports need to make up a 99% to 0 deficit.
Certainly lots to be answered for. Nice timing on the sound barrier as that Gravitic Flux was coming through, and that means Bashful down early. Element Mystic just have more ultimates, and they get more done with them. Sparkle slam dunks 2, finds another 2 immediately after the fact. They're back in control of the point, already at 99. That's going to be a first map win for them. Surely Lijiang Tower Control Center goes the way of Element Mystic. And for the first time since the first map, Element Mystic are on the front foot.
And if you just joined us, you probably think, is this map 1 happening right now? Is this where Element Mystic finally face off against Talon? The first time we see these two teams clash? Because I'll be honest, if you discount the last 4 maps that we played and you just started watching Lijiang today for this particular match, you think this is exactly what is meant to happen. EM are supposed to completely dumpster Talon Esports, 100 to not a lot, I'm going to be honest. Talon Esports barely made their mark there. And so far, it feels like it doesn't quite sit well because you do remember the other 4 maps actually happened.
Yeah, this feels like the Element Mystic we were expecting. Look, better late than never. If they win this, you can just forget about all the rest. If this is the level you're going to perform at, then hey, that might still do you good. But they haven't done it yet. Talon could still make this happen.
So this is the composition that I was expecting more from Talon Esports, where they had Bashful on the far. This is another one of his heroes. Patapan still staying on the Doom, which is matching what Element Mystic are doing on their side as well.
That's the thing. Patapan has been the one trying to match Sparkle. Now it's Bashful doing the same. And speaking of matching, Doha outpaces Patapan. That's an incredible one, to say the least. Once again, Element Mystic just flattened Talon in the opening fight. Going to get control of that point.
Which is just so bizarre, because even when Talon were losing fights in previous maps, they were able to at least get counter trades. Just really hasn't happened so far. Doha is now really making his mark as a Doomfist too. He wasn't really that impressive when we saw a little bit of that on Dorado, but now, yeah, he's active on the kill feed. Sparkle's doing a lot of support play from above. He's still a major threat, and Talon Esports have to address both.
Patapan is already Tracer. This is a bit of an interesting one. Let's see how this works out for them. They are mostly fighting under cover, which helps. Patapan can get a lot done on this hero. That's already a 1-for-1.
It's a big punish on Doha, though, but they do lose Muse, and they need to get another trade here for Talon.
Even with that Coalescence, they're having a hard time keeping in the fight, keeping legs beneath them, and Element Mystic having no such trouble. Very clean and coordinated, and again, we're starting to see that gulf emerge between Hanbin and Gogora.
And unfortunately for Talon, they just can't, they're not really adequately playing the other matchups here. If they're on Reaper Doomfist, it's good, it's comparable, especially if we play Reaper Doomfist in a mirror, it's fantastic. But as soon as Element Mystic want to start bringing out Faras and other picks, Doha now on a Doomfist that's not necessarily the same as Sparkle, Talon don't quite know what to do.
Element Mystic looking good now, 60%.
Oh, wow!
Ooh, barely finds himself with some ground beneath him as he lands there. That could have been horrible.
Just took the rug out from underneath him, but still manages to put his hands down in time to stop the fall. Element Mystic, though, still have a lot of ultimates to play with. CQB snapped out of this world.
This is close enough that it could be fun to fight, but what is that rocket barrage? It's only getting Gogora, and in that time, Talon actually picked 2 kills up. And they're still very much in this as well. Nice one from Sparkle on the re-entry. Does get traded. Reses are there. Doha's got 1. They might just push this through to the end now. This has been a long enough fight.
This is now Element Mystic taking their claim on the opening of the Gauntlet here. 3rd seed walking in against 10th seed, 92-0. Talon just could be losing this right now.
Last ditch here from Gogora on the Wrecking Ball, just in case they need to touch the point. CQB does the dirty work and is already down for his trouble. Gogora as well.
It's done.
There was the world where this was a 3-0 for Talon. It came so close to that, but we do not live in that universe. We live in the one where Element Mystic are still as good as we expected them to be. And my goodness, the seas were rough, but they stay the course. 3-2. Element Mystic will win the first match of the Gauntlet.
And this just feels like, okay, Element Mystic, we're meant to be the team that wins anyway. It was a tough one for them. But again, Destiny, it rings true. They were meant to be the better team in the series. That last map just seems like such an oddity. How is it possible? You get 4 close games in a row. Even Dorado, that was far more one-sided in favor of Element Mystic, was still actually pretty competitive out from Talon's perspective as well. Go to Lijiang Tower, they were invisible. Talon did not show up today at all. They looked like they weren't in that server, and that's a bit of a problem. Element Mystic are definitely in their element.
But look, let's take a little bit of a look back now at what this is going to mean. Element Mystic, at the end of the day, like we said, stay the course, they get to collect their handshakes, and they get to continue advancing in the winner's bracket. That was all expected for them. Talon, they end up down in the loser's bracket, certainly not unexpected. Yeah, there was this possibility here. What they have done, though, is they have still set a precedent. They have still shown strength, and they are not to be taken lightly. Look, dare I say it, Talon are not the team that's going to go home today, based off that alone.
Not only are they not going to be the team to go home today, but they're going to be finishing second in this group, mark my words, over HSL and XL2 Academy, because I'm pretty certain neither of those teams could ever touch Element Mystic the way that Talon just did. That was a magnificent performance. Whoever goes down to the loser bracket against Talon Esports, they're going home today.
Yeah, you certainly got to be worried about that one. And I mean, hey, no comments on who that might be just yet, right? And even then, as you go beyond that, look, after you're not eliminated, everything is all just seeding. You start to look at a world where, hey, maybe you don't even want to get seeded against Talon at any point in time. Like you said, you do this to Element Mystic. Even the teams in Group B are going to stand up and take notice of that, even though they won't even seed Talon for like 2 whole days.
And most teams in this tournament, Element Mystic included, just discounted Talon as a team altogether. But this entire time, you have to look at their training, you have to look at their preparation, you have to look at now individual performers on this team and what they're capable of, and you suddenly realize, yeah, they absolutely are deserving of basically being, in some cases, acting as a 4th seed for Korea, number 1 seed for the Pacific. In terms of skill level, they're absolutely on that Korean level right now.
They're really showing up, and well, I don't want to get too comparative here, but maybe some folk who saw Fusion Uni this last season might be wishing they had a Talon in their region. At any rate, though, that's our first match done and dusted. An absolutely incredible one, dare I say, but my goodness gracious me, there are still just so many more to go.
Exactly. I mean, there's 10 teams in this tournament. We've seen now 2 of them. We've still got 2 more to go in this particular group. We've seen now, I think this was an incredible opening match considering what it was. I mean, you expect any team where the seeding difference is like, what, 7 places? That should be so one-sided. You look at Lee Jung, that should have been the map for all 3 maps for EM's 3-0 run over Talon Esports. Most people would have probably looked at that and said, easy 3-0 for Element Mystic, just not the case.
It was nearly a 3-0 for Talon. Again, like I feel like I'm just repeating myself, but we nearly did live in that universe. We'll instead live in the universe where
they had the 3, I think the 3-1 is maybe a potential.
At the end of the day, there was just a lot of potential ways for Talon to win. They didn't end up winning it, is the other thing we have to look at. When push came to shove, Element Mystic do still outclass them, and look, that has been the case for them, you know, not just here obviously, but in seasons prior in the Pacific Showdown as well, and so on and so forth. But I tell you, if this is the precedent being set for the Gauntlet, if this is what these matches are going to look like, if this is how potentially close some of these teams could be, no matter how good you might think Korean teams are, then we are in for an exceptional few days.
And every single team that has had some sort of run-in with Talon so far, in terms of whether they scrimmed them or have seen them or have any knowledge of them, has basically said, yeah, look, you kind of have to watch out for this team. Every other team that has no idea has just basically written them off. And so I now look at the rest of the lineup. I'm expecting a lot more players to come through, but we are going to be heading to a winner's interview pretty soon. And of course, it will be Sparkle.
Who else could it be? They've earned it. Let's go ahead and find out what he thinks about things, how he feels about what Patapan just did to him.
How he feels about that young contender running up towards him.
Let's go ahead.
Soon.
TM.
Soon we will get Sparkle's.
I just want to know.
Sparkle's words.
I don't care what I have to say. I want to know what he has to say.
First thing Sparkle will do is just let out a sigh, just wipe the brow off his forehead like I will be doing after this match.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to step outside for
Please do.
A tall glass of water.